They found her in a bathtub, but this wasn't an accident. It wasn't suicide. It was acid. And she was 19 years old. Arnima Hayat was supposed to be in her second year of med school. She was supposed to be working her way toward becoming a surgeon. Instead, she became a crime scene that even experienced officers had to step back from. The smell of hydrochloric acid hit them before they even saw her body. Police couldn't even reach her at first. They had to call in hazmat teams. And the person responsible, he vanished. For 20 hours, Miraj Zafar was the most wanted man in Sydney. But what led up to this moment? How did a promising young woman go from being the pride of her family to becoming a name in the news? Another victim of domestic violence? This isn't just another crime story. This is about missed chances, warning signs no one took seriously, and the quiet desperation that too often ends in tragedy. So, let's rewind. Arnima Hayat was born into a Bangladeshi family full of love and high hopes. Her father, Abu, moved to Australia first, patiently waiting to reunite with his wife and daughter. When Arnima finally arrived, she dove into school, thrived in her classes, and had one goal in mind: to become a doctor. Teachers described her as polite, focused, and bright. Her family called her honest, sweet, and full of ambition. She had that spark, the kind you just know is going places. By 2022, she was studying at the University of Western Sydney. She dreamed of becoming a surgeon, not for prestige, but because she genuinely wanted to help people. She was the kind of student teachers remembered. But then came Miraj Zafar. In October 2021, Arnima married him in a private Islamic ceremony. No guests, no family, just the two of them, and silence. Her parents didn't approve, and once she moved in with Zafar, the silence grew. Contact with her family stopped, completely, and that's when the isolation began. Zafar, just 20 himself, wasn't some unknown stranger, but what came out later was terrifying. Friends said Arnima was scared of him, that he was violent, that he'd hit her, strangled her, controlled her. She had plans to leave. She wanted to leave, but she was scared and stuck. The day before her death, she texted a friend, "I have nobody except you." That same friend replied, "You have got no choice. You have to stay with him." That wasn't support. That was resignation. The kind of helplessness that far too many victims feel when they believe there's no way out. Just hours before she died, she texted again, "I hate him." Those aren't just messages. They're screams into the void. Arnima had everything going for her: intelligence, heart, purpose. But behind closed doors, she was battling a storm of fear, violence, and control. And in the end, when she tried to leave, he didn't let her. This isn't just about what happened. It's about how it happened. The red flags, the calls for help, and the terrifying truth that abuse doesn't always look like bruises in public. Sometimes it looks like a smile that hides everything. Because if someone had just listened, if someone had just reached her in time, would Arnima Hayat still be alive? After her final text, "I hate him," silence followed. It was Saturday, January 29th, 2022, when Arnima Hayat was killed. At that time, no one could have imagined what Miraj Zafar was doing inside that North Parramatta apartment. But by Sunday afternoon, the horrific truth would come crashing through Sydney's headlines. At 4:30 p.m. on January 30th, police officers responded to a welfare check. What they found made seasoned detectives retreat. Arnima's body lay submerged in a bathtub filled with hydrochloric acid. The air was toxic, first responders were physically pushed back by the fumes and had to call in hazmat teams just to enter. This wasn't just a murder. This was a methodical attempt to erase her. But here's the kicker. While officers scrambled to contain the scene, Zafar was already gone. The manhunt began. Police knew who they were looking for. Miraj Zafar, 20 years old. His image was broadcasted across news outlets. People were warned not to approach him. He was considered dangerous and possibly armed. And yet, by Monday afternoon, just over 20 hours later, he quietly walked into Bankstown Police Station and turned himself in. No grand chase, no confrontation, just a calm surrender. It was almost eerie. Now, let's rewind a bit further. The evidence investigators pieced together tells us just how calculated Zafar's actions were. CCTV footage caught him driving his truck to a Bunnings in Northmead, not once, but twice. The day after the murder, he purchased 5 20-liter containers of hydrochloric acid. Not bleach, not something impulsive. Acid. And a lot of it. Think about that. That's not rage. That's not panic. That's planning. He didn't just kill her. He tried to dissolve her. And it doesn't stop there. Authorities found that before even buying the acid, Zafar had Googled, "Can hydrochloric acid burn through skin?" That chilling search turned this from a spontaneous act of violence into premeditated murder. The motive? Control, fear of abandonment, power. Arnima had told friends she wanted to leave him, that she couldn't take it anymore, and Zafar knew it. According to court documents, he was angry and worried that she might actually go through with it. So he took everything from her, her future, her body, her chance at help. Her isolation made it easier. Her silence made it possible. And his abuse was the noose that had been tightening for months. But the horror didn't end with the crime. When investigators searched his truck, the same one seen in the Bunnings CCTV, they gathered more forensic evidence. Fingerprints, acid residue, surveillance alignment, and when Arnima's body had to be identified, they needed DNA samples. The acid had done its job far too well. Then came the courtroom. On February 1st, just 2 days after the discovery, Zafar's case was mentioned in Bankstown local court. He didn't appear in person or even on video. He was denied bail immediately. By May 2022, Zafar entered a guilty plea. Let that sink in. He confessed. No trial, no drawn-out defense strategy, just guilt. The evidence was overwhelming, and he knew it. From that moment, the focus shifted to sentencing and justice. On December 19th, 2024, Justice Deborah Sweeney sentenced Zafar to 21 years and 6 months in prison, with a non-parole period of 16 years. That means Zafar could walk free by 2038. 16 years. For a murder this calculated, this grotesque. In her final statements, Justice Sweeney said the murder happened because Zafar was enraged that Arnima might leave him, that he killed her in a place where she should have been safest, her own home. During sentencing, Arnima's family sat in the courtroom, devastated. Her mother, Mahfouza, was described as inconsolable. Her father gave a victim impact statement that could stop your heart. He said Zafar had burned the face I used to talk to and kiss every night. And then, quietly, Zafar's lawyers argued that he was remorseful, that he was ready to rehabilitate. To that, Arnima's mother had only one thing to say. I want him punished for a long, long time. And who could blame her? This wasn't just about grief. It was about the system, how it fails victims before the crime, and sometimes even after. A brilliant girl was murdered, and her killer might be out in less than 2 decades. The public response was one of fury and heartbreak. In Parramatta, the community held a candlelight vigil. People who didn't know Arnima gathered to mourn her and call out the epidemic of domestic violence. The city council passed condolence motions, formally acknowledging the loss. Her story was picked up across Australia. People were horrified, but they were also asking, how did this happen? And then came the deeper conversations. Journalists, activists, and community leaders began pointing to a broader issue: the danger of isolation in abusive relationships, especially among young women from immigrant communities. Arnima's separation from her family wasn't just emotional, it was tactical. It made her more vulnerable. Some even called for cultural shifts, education campaigns, and stronger safety nets for women at risk, especially in marginalized communities where silence is often taught and suffering stays hidden. There's a haunting statistic behind this. On average, 1 woman is killed every week in Australia by a current or former partner. Arnima was one of them. Her story isn't rare, it's just visible now. And yet, even with all the attention, the sentencing left many feeling empty. Was this really justice? Was this enough? The sentence was official, 21 years and 6 months. But in reality, Zafar could be out in 16 years. That number felt like a punch in the gut to everyone who followed the case, especially to those who knew Arnima. For her parents, it was unthinkable. Their daughter was gone forever, and her killer might one day walk free. Her mother was shattered, unable to comprehend how someone could do something so monstrous and still face a limit on their punishment. Her father's words haunted the courtroom. He said Zafar had destroyed not just his daughter, but his ability to remember her face, her smile, her light. There's a bitter irony in all of this. Arnima died trying to escape. She reached out. She told people. She sent texts. She expressed her fear. And still, it wasn't enough to save her. And now, we're left with the uncomfortable question: what does justice even look like for a crime like this? Some say the sentence was a win, a rare case where an abuser was caught, convicted, and sentenced without dragging the family through a painful trial. Others argue 16 years isn't justice. It's a timer on grief, a countdown to when the man who tried to dissolve her body could walk out of prison and into a world that moved on. But Arnima's story didn't fade. Her case became a rallying cry for tougher domestic violence laws, for better support systems, for cultural understanding, for families to talk, even when it's hard, for communities to stay connected, for friends to listen more closely, to respond with action, not just sympathy, to help victims believe there's another way. Because maybe, just maybe, if someone had done that, this story wouldn't have ended in acid and silence. We remember Arnima not as a victim, but as a young woman with dreams, with heart, with a life worth protecting. And we tell her story not for shock, but so the next Arnima can be saved before it's too late. If this story gripped you, don't stop here. Watch our next breakdown of another true case that will leave you speechless.